But we start with white privilege, white guilt, whatever you want to call it, and what it does to people who have had a charmed life, grown up rich, been spoiled, daddy has connections, siblings doing well, they know the Obamas, they're the liberal elite. It really isn't white privilege. It's liberal privilege. And it exists especially in politics and media. There is liberal privilege. It's the greatest privilege in America. It's not close. That white privilege on a scale of, 1 to 10 is like 3, and liberal privilege is like 11. It's crazy. Man, if you're on the inside in liberal privilege with like a daddy who runs a union and is tied in with all the politicians that have been grifting and stealing from us all these years, and you get an education in private schools in Kansas City and then a private school in New York, that in today's dollars, if you're starting out in kindergarten, we're talking about an education that costs, are you ready for this? $750,000 just for your education. And then you go out in the world and you're a normal dude and you're like, I just want to be a sports radio guy. And you get on in Kansas City and you get a show and you got to leave because you're not beating the other guys. So you leave, daddy finds you, whatever, and you wind up on a cable channel like Nick Wright has on a show that nobody watches these shows. ESPN's canceling them right and left. Fox Sports 1 is doubling down because they have nothing else to put on. So they're filling space, but they're great in social media. The clips, they get all kinds of views and whatever, and it becomes viral. That's the game everybody's playing now. How many views do we get on YouTube? How many we get on Twitter? It's not about the actual show on cable TV anymore. Nobody watches them. Nobody sees them. So Nick Wright, who's from Kansas City and went to the Barstow School, which is $26,000 a year, and Syracuse, which is, depending on where you live at Syracuse, is between $87,000 and $100,000 a year. And his dad is a political operative and union guy and knows the Obamas and all these other people. They've been connected forever. This is the most liberal privilege anybody that I know of in Kansas City media history has ever had. It's a magic carpet ride right to whatever you want to do. You tell daddy what you want to do, and we'll figure it out. So he got that, and he's there. And he is decidedly upset and crazy about the fact that the Department of Defense took some sort of Jackie Robinson tribute thing down off of a DOD website. And Jeff Passan, who is also a committed liberal but a great reporter at ESPN, outstanding baseball reporter, he also lives in Kansas City. And I've known Jeff for a long time. We're not close friends, but he used to be on my radio show. He is excellent at what he does. He is unabashedly liberal, but will have a debate with you that is rooted in things that he believes in strongly, and he's intelligent. He articulates them. It's never personal, and we can discuss issues and ideas all day long and respect each other. He's that guy. But Nick Wright took a story that Jeff Passan did because he exposed the Department of Defense, Passan did, at ESPN, for taking this story about Jackie Robinson down. What they did was they basically said, we're not going to put things on our website just for DEI anymore. And there was a salute to Jackie Robinson for serving in the military and being the first black baseball player and breaking the color barrier and all those things. And what the Department of Defense was saying was, we want to honor Jackie Robinson for his service and being a great baseball player, but not because he was black. And Passan didn't like that, and he exposed that, and they put the story back up, and it was altered, I guess, a little bit. But Nick Wright decides to get in front of his camera, and it looked like in his home studio. And I felt bad for him because he just loses his mind. He says, I always knew that eventually I was going to be out of sports and into politics, that this is the way I was going to go. But my wife has told me that that's not a good path for me. I would have been mayor of Kansas City, but Quentin Lucas, my classmate at the Barstow School, another rich kid, spoiled guy, has already been mayor, so I'm not going to be mayor of Kansas City, and she's kind of convinced me that I shouldn't run for president. Like, this dude is in front of a camera to talk about Jackie Robinson and saying, I've decided I'm not running for president. On a show that gets 37,000 viewers nationwide? What has happened? What exactly is liberal privilege? What is it like to think of oneself in such high regard that, well, I can't really run for president. My wife says it's not for me. What? Have you looked at, heard, and seen Nick Wright? So the crux of what he's going to talk about here is, this is unbelievable. You're not going to believe this. Jackie Robinson was the initial, very first DEI hire. The baseball player, Jackie Robinson. who crashed through the color barrier in great fashion, an historic American figure, no question, because he was great at what he did. And we were a racist country for a long time after the Civil War and did not give equal rights to black people. We didn't. We weren't even close. We were bad for 80 years at least, maybe 100. Awful. But Jackie Robinson was so good he burst through that. He's the opposite of a DEI hire. Oh, but no, that's not the way Nick Wright sees it. Listen to this.
And this is what folks who are on the right side, the correct side of Jackie Robinson have been saying. Calling Jackie Robinson a DEI hire is insulting. And everyone who agrees with me politically was saying that. And that's why we lose arguments. Because we have just seeded the ground that, oh yeah, DEI is bad. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What that means is people who didn't deserve a job got one. And don't you dare call Jackie Robinson DEI, because he wasn't. He deserved it. But what people don't see is that's how the bad actors win, is by reframing definitions. Because a DEI hire is not someone who did not deserve the job who got it. That's just what they have claimed it is. And now folks are like, you can't call Jackie Robinson DEI hire. It's insulting. Guys, in Major League Baseball, Jackie Robinson was the definition of a DEI hire. And that's why we need it.
Wow. He's saying his fellow liberals are blowing this thing because they're ceding the space to normal people in America who recognize that when Delta Airlines says we're going to have 50% of our pilots that are not white men, and some young white lady who was flying Cessna Cubs 6 months ago crashes a plane in Toronto and flips it over on its side and almost kills everyone just because they needed to have a woman in the cockpit and they allowed her to land the plane. She's literally on a training flight with 100 passengers. That's what it was. She was the co-pilot and she needed hours taking off and landing these planes. And they're doing it with people on board. Because Delta said, we got to get to a point where we only have 50% white male pilots. That's DEI, Nick. That's DEI. And it's everywhere. So I will challenge you to rethink this. You love the NBA. I don't like the NBA. You love it. I don't know how many guys on a team, 13, 15, let's say make an even number, 14. Great. NBA needs to pass a rule, DEI, full DEI in the NBA. Nick, full DEI. 7 players on the roster cannot be black men. That's it. That's diversity, equity, and inclusion. You can have women on the team. You can have Europeans. You can have white people. You can have Asians. You can bring them from anywhere, but they can't be black men. That can only be half in the NBA. Why is there no DEI on sports rosters? I've said for 30 years, the most pure view of American exceptionalism and lack of racism and judging other people is sports. Nobody cares. They don't care if you're young or old, male or female, black or white. They don't care about your religion. They don't care anything about you. If you're the best player, you play in sports. That's why we don't like DEI. DEI stops that from happening. Jackie Robinson was the best. If they put a rule in 1947, half the players in baseball now have to be something other than white men. Do you think baseball would have been as good? At that time, it wouldn't have. Today, it may be. Certainly, the NBA is that way. You don't want to put half the players in the NBA as white guys. You don't. It won't be as good. I'm willing to say it. But you got to get honest, Nick. You got to get honest with this thing. And for you to think, and he also said in his piece that he's decided he's going to start a consulting firm to try to teach Democrats how to position their causes and speak about their causes. He says the reason they're losing the DEI argument is they don't know how to argue it. What the hell was that he just said? That was a Kamala Harris word salad. It was a train wreck of an argument for DEI. Jackie Robinson was a DEI hire. Wow, I think I've heard it all from the left. And this guy's telling the left that they're doing it wrong. They're positioning it wrong. They don't know how to say it and articulate their point. Here's the point, Nick. It's an indefensible position. You don't ever hire on quotas because of somebody's skin color or gender or sexual identity or preference or religion or anything. You hire the best, most qualified person for the job, something you've never really experienced because you had so much help in your career from your daddy and all the liberal privilege that you grew up with. You were the ultimate liberal privilege end game in the media. Congratulations. You're going to make a lot of money. They love you at your network. Your people are connected. You're going to way outdo me, buddy. You're going to make a lot more money than I ever made. Good for you. My dad was a ditch digger, okay? I didn't go to the Barstow School or Syracuse. But God bless you, man. Enjoy that liberal privilege and keep thinking that Jackie Robinson was a DEI hire.